Now that we've learned about aggregate demand and aggregate supply, now we're going to work on putting them together in one model and one graph. Recall, and you can pause if you need to, recall the change or the shift factors for aggregate demand and aggregate supply. And we're only going to deal with one at a time, so we're not going to shift both in the same problem. We're only going to shift one at a time. So here's number one. Draw the AD and AS curve in the three ranges on the same graph. Be sure to label it correctly. Although for most of these problems we're not going to draw the three ranges, we're just going to draw an upward sloping aggregate supply curve. So I'll kind of draw both of them for you. We have price level, real GDP, aggregate demand is downward sloping, and then we would have the three range. We're going to start calling that the short run aggregate supply curve. We're going to learn about the long run aggregate supply curve later on, but just start labeling it as that. And so now the intersection would be, well, here would be price level 1. We're in the intermediate stage, so this would be during an expansion. And then we have real GDP 1. So that's the intersection. The way we're going to start drawing this for now is, for just the section on AD and AS, is going to be what you're more used to. Okay, SRAS is upward sloping. It'll make it much easier to shift. We have aggregate demand. And we're going to need to show the change in price level and real GDP. So again, when we're shifting aggregate supply especially, it's going to be much easier if we shift this graph, because you're going to be much more familiar. Increase to the right for both, decrease to the left. So if we decrease short run aggregate supply, we shift that to the left. So this is where we start problem number one. So I've already drawn the graph here for you. Price level, real GDP, aggregate demand, short run aggregate supply, labeling where I start price level and real GDP. So problem one states, government grants tax decreases to consumers. Show this change on a correctly labeled graph below. So first off, we have to decide, so this government granting tax decrease to consumers, where does that fit in? Is that an aggregate demand or aggregate supply? And because it's consumers, remember that aggregate demand equals consumption plus investment plus government plus net exports. So it's going to affect consumers. Now because taxes go down, they decrease, that's going to mean more money for consumers. That's going to make them happier, and that's going to make them buy more. So when people buy more, aggregate demand increases. So we make AD2, AD1, draw my arrow. And then what we're going to notice is both real GDP goes up, so we're producing more stuff, and we're noticing some inflation. Price level is going to go up. Try problem number 2. Again, here's my graph. Government provides a $1 trillion subsidy to many small business owners, or many small businesses. If we think about as many small businesses instead of owners, it might make it a little more clearer. So you have to think it's going to business. Businesses supply things. So this is going to be that legal institutional environment. This is a subsidy to businesses. So because businesses now have more money, you can imagine they might be able to hire more workers or hire more capital, buy more machinery, build more robots to build the product. Whatever the case is, we're going to increase SRAS. So we increase always to the right. So I'm going to draw an arrow. SRAS goes up, so that's 2, and that becomes 1. Now what we notice is kind of good in two respects. Number one, real GDP goes up. So we're actually being more productive. So that's a good thing. Also, price level has fallen, which means that for every dollar that you have, you're now able to purchase more things. So this kind of is ideal. If you take a look at it, I mean, it has both positive outcomes for at least most consumers, that the price level goes down and real GDP goes up. And here's our final problem. Government passes a new $15 minimum wage law for the entire country. Now, there's two ways to look at it. I'm going to look at it from the business side, because you might be saying that, well, $15 minimum wage, so people's wages are going to go up, so therefore they're going to buy more stuff because they have more money. But the first change is actually going to happen in the labor market. And the aggregate supply curve is what's going to be affected first. So when the government passes this new minimum wage law, input prices, remember, which goes with SRAS, input prices go up, meaning that the business is going to be able to supply less because they're going to have to fire workers. Input prices go up, and so that's the effect. And so what we're going to notice is SRAS shifts to the left because it's a decrease. That's SRAS 2, that becomes SRAS 1. Now we kind of have two problems. Price level goes up, but we're producing less stuff. So that's kind of worse off in two regards. We see inflation, but we actually have less goods to buy. So consumers, for the most part, are going to be worse off because prices are going up, and we have less stuff to choose from because real GDP, we're producing less stuff. We've talked a lot about minimum wage in the past. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? This is just another model that we can look at to see, this is the effect of an increase in minimum wage, even though $15 right now is above what the national government is thinking about raising the minimum wage to anyway. So that's putting the model together. Go ahead on to your next assignment.